The issue is, of course, we've got so much going on right now that I just kind of, it's a hard time. I've always said I'm not going to get into direct politics, but it's impossible right now with everything that's going on a daily basis not to have to or want to or somehow need to cover it. And of course, one of those things that a lot of you get upset, a lot of people get upset about, a lot of people don't understand is wokeness, stay woke, right? And I was almost shocked when someone sent me an old blues song and said, hey, give this a listen. And let me tell you about the song. The song is named Scottsboro Boys, and it's by Leadbelly Ledbetter. Okay, and he was a blues guy in the 1930s. And in 1931, the Scottsboro Boys were 9 young black men between the ages of, I'm thinking 14 to 19, that were accused of raping 2 white women in Alabama. And the result of those capital crimes being pushed against these 5 young black men, who were innocent, by the way, created a lot of like the equality laws that some of us have come to expect from our legal system. For example, having a jury of your peers became part of the Scottsboro trials in 1935. There was a couple of other things, having fair representation for a capital crime. That kind of leads into our public defenders and having someone defend you and being entitled to having some kind of defense, even if you're destitute. And as I said, the 5 young men were not guilty. They were not even there. There was no, it was made up. I can't speak to the motivations of the 2 women that made those accusations. Nobody really will know. Maybe somebody does know. Maybe somebody knows of a book that I haven't seen or read. But ultimately, Leadbelly Ledbetter, he wrote this song and released it in 1938. And in the song, he tells basically black Americans, 1938 folks, stay woke. In other words, stay aware, keep on your P's and Q's, have a head on a swivel, and watch and make sure that you know where all those horrible white people who would make false accusations like that just for their own entertainment or attention. And I thought, wow, why does everything, every insult that comes from the far right, from MAGA, from the Tea Party, well, now MAGA, why does it always go back to some racist bullshit? Why? Why? So that's the first time anybody says it, and that's why he said it, because of the Scottsboro Boys. It's mortifying that these people just constantly like indoctrinate mostly white, 8% of the black population. 8% of 13% is nothing. But when we think about racism and how it's being used in this country to literally divide half of us from the other half, right? It's no matter what. Okay, white America is 70% of the population. Everybody else can't swing a vote if all the white people vote the exact same way. That's just a fact. The fact that half of white America is over here and the other half is over here That's why we are literally divided in half as far as the final votes. Because the minority people, the vast majority of them, are not stupid enough to vote against themselves. But let's be honest, if you're white American, you're saying, why would white America, the other half, be voting against, people's equal rights and stuff like that? Well, that's because they still got away with this shit. And they're mad they don't get away with it anymore. The Scottsboro boys were just a long line of crimes and false accusations that cost people their lives. And that was the 1930s, right? Where we're at now, we've come so far from then. I mean, literally, it's almost 100 years later, but we still have half of white America not understanding woke. Or maybe they do. I don't know. They always pretend they can't explain it. And maybe they can't. Maybe they don't know the history. So now you know the history behind it. Holy shit. Stay Woke is about 9 young men in 1931 that were falsely accused of raping 2 white women. Stay woke. Keep your head on a swivel. Understand. And now, let's be honest, what it means is be that person, that better person. Know how to care for other people, how unfair the system has been, how unfair it still remains. And stay woke. It's evolved from having Black Americans have their head on a swivel, although I promise you, I know Black Americans that would say that they still have their heads on swivels, that they still feel the rage and they still feel isolated and they still feel like nobody cares about them as a whole. It's not fair. It's not right. And I'm not saying that poor white people haven't been left behind either. That's not what I'm saying. It's like somebody said, like one of those stupid memes. It's not pie. Just because somebody else gets a slice doesn't mean you get less. In fact, it's the opposite. If Black Americans, Native Americans, Hispanic Americans are all treated equally and with the same respect, then poor white Americans get that same respect too. It's not how they spin it for you. That's why half are on one side, because they understand this. And the other half, do you understand it? Because if you do, that doesn't say very much for you. As always, man, think about it.